We're live.
Hey guys,
Hey.
it's Mary the Medium with Miss Barbara, who is the Tarot Mistress. She is one of a kind psychic medium. And what we're going to be talking about today is finding and developing your psychic gift. Jason is behind the scenes. He's going to be doing the chat. Hey, Evie. Hey, Carrie. And we're going to start off with, okay, so you have a gift, right, Barbara? You have a gift. So where do you start?
Well, here's the thing is you think you have a gift. You're not sure.
Right.
I think I have a gift. You know, this happens, that happens. Do I really have a gift, or am I just crazy? Okay. So we're going to start. We start there. How do we know if we have a gift? What are the things, that we would look for? So I guess maybe I'm speaking to people who are maybe in that beginning stage, maybe younger people, and they're thinking about, developing their gift. So we're going to start out right at the beginning here. Do I have psychic abilities? Okay. So the answer to that is absolutely and totally yes. Okay. Because everyone is born that, scientists sort of know this. Everyone is born with the potential for psychic abilities. Now, if some people say, oh, that's woo-woo, but there's actually some science behind that. Right here, you can see about the pineal gland. All right. Yeah. Pineal gland right here. Science knows that they think that the pineal gland is really the gland that wakes us up in the morning. It's the thing that knows, oh, the sun came up, time to get up, or it's dark, it's time to go to sleep. However, researchers into that are saying, we think that there's a little bit more to that. First of all, it doesn't even look like a gland. If you look at it, it's very small and it looks more like a crystal. So, I and psychic people believe that it's actually a little radio transmitter. It's a transmitter. So some people are born with the transmitter turned. It's always there, but some people are born with the transmitter turned on. Some people are not. So sometimes the transmitter can be turned on after an accident. I have a very close friend. I'm sure she was always psychic, but she got into a car accident, and after that, everything went crazy. Everything happened after the car accident.
Or a near-death experience.
Near-death experience, exactly.
Right.
And so I don't know. It sort of turns it on. So you have the ability. However, not everyone has the desire, determination, or guidance to develop them. Okay. Right. Not everybody wants to do that. And Mary, as you know, it's work.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
A lot of work. So sometimes people think, well, I have it, but do I really want to develop it? Okay.
Right.
And some of the reasons they might not want to is their fear of unknown consequences. As we talked about, they don't want to see ghosts in their backyard or someone
like me.
Exactly. In their bed, like me. So they might be afraid of that. Also, fear of religious doctrines. We all grew up, and what I'm saying. So it's like, well, if I study this, will I go to hell? Okay. Well, also fear of being perceived as strange. All right. There's something a little off. However, okay, but so many people are off right now, Mary. We all fit in now. It's like
right. Yeah, I know.
We sort of all fit in now. So, and then more important, not having a supportive and experienced mentor.
That was me. Never had.
That's huge. And neither did I. I had to do it all on my own. So nowadays it makes it a little bit easier because there are people available that will help you. And then my particular favorite, being told that it's all in your head. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I saw this woman at the bottom of my bed. No. It was all in your head. Well, I don't think so. Well, anyway. No, it wasn't all in my head. Okay.
For me, I hid my gift for close to 38 years or something like that because of all of these.
Right.
All of these. And so
exactly.
when I saw that, I'm like, unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And then there was one I didn't add, which was very important. And I know you can relate to this. And it's like, I'm too busy with my life. All right.
Right?
And that's huge. I didn't put that on there. But, I stopped, like for many years, I had a job. I couldn't be,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was always reading but I really couldn't focus until later in life because, I was
Yeah,
living,
or do it full time.
I
Right.
was living my life. Okay.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so the bottom line is, it really, if you either, I believe, if you wish to connect with your spiritual gifts, you can. All right, it's not impossible, not easy, but all
Yeah.
right. So let's see what the next one says here. Uh,
Jason.
okay,
Yes.
all right. So let's talk about how these gifts might manifest. Okay, now you may have all of these, you may have some of these, you may have all of these, but these are some of the things that you would look for, if you want to see, like, do I have any potential? Okay.
Okay.
So heightened intuition. Do you often have strong gut feelings or hunches that turn out to be accurate? Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
how,
Well,
let's see. Don't turn down that street, like you're driving
right.
along and somehow it's like, I just don't think I'm going to take a different route today. I think I'll take a different route today.
Right.
Take a different route, and then you find out later there was a big accident on that street, and then you're
Correct.
like, "Whoa, I just dodged a bullet."
Right. Right. Yeah.
So, and if you really pay attention, you'll find out this stuff happens all the time. Matter of
Yeah.
fact, it does happen all the time, but a lot of times people don't listen to it. So,
Right.
and that means that we just have to learn to trust our intuition. And again, that takes work. Okay, vivid dreams or premonitions, experiencing dreams that feel unusually real and later came true. Okay,
Yeah.
flashes insights about future events. I want to talk a little bit about dreams because we all have them. So,
Right.
how do you know that this is just not some like wacky dream that's being spurred on from some horror show I watched on TV before I went to bed? Or am I actually getting, is this something that's important? And I feel that, first of all, if dreams are very vivid, that means they're in color. They're in
Yeah.
color and they're very vivid. You wake up and you remember every single little thing in that
Mm-hmm.
dream. Probably that's a dream that it probably has some significance. So, and again, this happens to us with, like, I've lost people in my life, and there have been times when I remember one time when somebody was talking about the hug dream, and I thought, the hug,
Hug dream.
the hug dream. I'm like, I haven't had the hug dream. So I remember going to bed going, I want the hug dream. Where's my hug dream? All right. And sure enough, that night when I went to bed, I ended up seeing this person that I was really close to, and I got a big hug. Now, you could say, well, did you just manifest that? But no, because it was like it was real, and that hug was real, and the emotion that I felt with that hug was real. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
True.
you get that. Insights about future events. Oh, like I knew this, and again, sometimes that's a very difficult one because you have to try to figure out, is it coming from me or is it coming from, someplace outside? So you have to figure that out. Sensitivity to energy, feeling the emotions of others, again,
Mm-hmm.
empathic, or seeing or hearing things that other people don't. So,
Yep.
for instance, Mary, we were talking today about what was going on in your backyard.
Oh
Okay.
my God.
Okay.
It's
Now,
a convention.
yes, well, I could have been sitting next to you. I could have been standing next to you, and I might not have seen that. I
Yeah.
might not have seen what you see.
You would have felt it, I
Well,
believe.
I see. You're right. Claire sentient. I
Mhm.
would have felt it. I might have seen it. We don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah. So that's a thing. And then also, there have been times when I'm with some of my psychic friends, and they'll say, "Whoa, did you just see that dark spirit going across the room?" I'm like,
Right.
no.
Yeah.
I'll be like, no, but then I'll see things. I'll say, did you see that? And they'll say no. So who knows what's going on there, but seeing things that other people's don't. Telepathic, knowing what someone is thinking. Now, of course, I'm very good at this. Knowing what someone is thinking or feeling without saying it. You share thoughts with someone close, like finishing their sentences. And that's not unusual, if you're around somebody a lot. But I don't know about you, but I can do it with other people. I just met these people, like I just met these people, and I'm finishing their sentences.
Renee says hi to you. She's in the audience. JR, Ann, Alaria, Evie, Carrie, and who I'm not sure if I've missed anybody. But I wanted to say this one, sensitivity to energy. Now, I don't know it all, but like for instance, at night, we were talking about this earlier before we came on. At night, I've been woken up by spirit many a time in my life, and it feels like I am being electrocuted whenever they get close to me. It's almost like how magnets repel that energy that's in the middle. But that's exactly, it just feels like someone threw a hairdryer in your bathtub kind of thing. So not only is it feeling the emotions and energy, but I think it could also mean, feeling their energy, because we're all made of energy. But
Exactly. And so I think I mentioned this before, but when I first met you, when I went to Spirit Fest, which is where I met you in Florida this year, when I walked through that door, my entire, I don't think I've ever been around that much energy before. And my whole body was shaking. And I said to my friend, look at my hands. My hands were doing this. So it's like, wow. So
it is. It's intense, but some of it's not some energy. I mean, 90% of it was really loving and healing energy. And then some energy isn't, you're going to get that at these psychic fairs and these events. But yeah, I remember your hands were shaking. I remember that.
oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were. Okay. All right. Let's see what else we got here. What let's put the next one on there, Jason. Okay. Okay. Unexplainable synchronicities. I guess synchronicities, Carl Jung, father of psychology or whatever, he coined synchronicities, but meaningful coincidences, things that, you're in a right place. Okay. For instance, meeting Mary at Spirit Fest. Okay. I didn't know if in fact, I wanted to go, but then I had no one to go with. So then my friend said, you're going to go. And I said, okay. And I met Mary. So there you go. Meaningful coincidences, like what if I hadn't gone? What if I decided to say, so that's what I'm talking about. And it happens all the time.
Well, see, I don't think there are any coincidences. We were meant to meet.
Yes.
And I think spirit has a greater plan involved, but we were meant to meet. So I think it's all intentional, not, yeah. So anyway.
And then symbols. Okay. So symbols, and there's a big one. I'm sure everybody, 1111. I mean, believe me, there's 12, but 1111 is really, something that shows up, and it's infinite possibilities, and you're on the right track. So whenever I see 1111, I have to stop and I say, okay, what was I thinking about right before that happened? Before I saw that 1111, what was I thinking? Because it's the universe going, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You're on the right track. Okay. So, and then this one, the next one, being drawn to nature, spiritual places, and practices. Okay. And so my whole life I've been obsessed with Egypt. Okay. So I finally got a chance to go to Egypt, and we could see me here, sitting there in the paw of the Sphinx there. I could do a whole show on the stuff that happened in Egypt. It was like unbelievable. And And again, meaningful coincidences. If I hadn't gone when I went 2 years ago, I don't think I ever would have gotten there, because you can't go to Egypt now. There's,
No.
there's too much stuff, too much. And
Well,
then,
did
yeah,
you feel really strong energy? Were you shaking there? I can imagine what the
well,
vibration is
yeah,
there.
well, the thing is, yes, but what really got it is we actually had a special trip up to the King's Chamber, up
Uh-huh.
in the Great Pyramid. So we had to go up to the King's Chamber. You had to
Wow.
crawl through this little hole. And
Ooh.
crawl through this little hole in the chamber. Once you're in there, you're like, it's a huge granite chamber, and it's unbelievable. Okay,
Wow.
so one of the things that I always wanted to know is what went on in that chamber. Okay, because some people say it's a tomb. No, can't be a tomb, because there's a little hole. You couldn't even get furniture in there. Okay, so
Right.
it wasn't that. I even took my tarot cards with me. I put them in my pocket. Okay, when I was sitting there because we sat there, we were talking, these tarot cards were actually vibrating in my hands.
No.
Yeah, I took them home. They're now wrapped up in a special box. I don't take them out for much. But the most important thing was, so I'm sitting there, I'm going, okay, spirit, universe, whoever you are, you tell me, what was this used for? I need to know what happened here in this King's Chamber. What was the, some people say, ritual, whatever. So in the middle of the King's Chamber, and you can see this if you Google it, there's a sarcophagus. Okay, there's
Mhm.
a sarcophagus. So
Right.
everybody was jumping in the sarcophagus, and I was like
What?
last. Yeah, they were going inside the sarcophagus, like seeing, oh, what's it like inside the sarcophagus? So, and they said,
Wow.
are you going to go in there? And I said, no, no, I'm not going to go in there, because I don't know.
Yeah.
But then the spirit said, get in the damn sarcophagus. Okay. I got in the sarcophagus, and I had my hands, your feet are up against the bottom, because it's pretty big. Your hands are up against the top. And the
Oh
group I
my
was with
God.
started oming. Okay.
No.
I can't even tell you what happened. But in that moment, it became quite obvious. And I heard like white noise. It was like the noise that you heard from a radio,
Hmm.
and you would like and I kept thinking, if I could just turn the dial, I could hear what they're saying. If I could just.
Wow.
So anyway, so I came to the conclusion, I got it. I totally understood what they used it for. And I call it, like, they were having cosmic Zoom. It was cosmic Zoom sessions. That's what they were doing there. And now,
Serious.
yeah. And then, how they were like, well, how did they build the pyramids? And, did some alien come down and, give them all this information? And I left. I thought, well, they didn't need an alien to come down. All they had to do was get into the cosmic Zoom sarcophagus and turn the right dial. So anyway, that was pretty amazing, and of course, I'm never going to forget that. So
That's
um,
amazing.
it was amazing, and then that's just some of the things that happened there. Um, so that's spiritual places. So again, I feel strongly, if you feel that you are drawn to some spiritual place, please go there. Please go there,
Right.
because you're supposed to go there. Maybe you'll connect with, like something. And the people that I went with, it was a group of 12 people. I didn't know any of them. Okay. And it was obvious at the end that we were brought together, like souls being brought together from the past. And so that was pretty amazing.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
I don't even know what to say. Even to this day, I don't know what to say.
so. Do you think maybe that could have been a past life for you?
Oh, definitely. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Although the pyramid, I really believe that my life was actually in Alexandria. That's a whole nother story. But I
Okay.
don't feel like it happened right. Like, I knew I visited there, but I
Right.
don't think I lived there. I think it was Alexandria, where they had the big library, where they had that library.
Okay.
There was a huge library where I guess it was Alexander the Great, I guess, went around and collected all the scrolls, and it was all in the library, and it was burned. The Christians burned the library, 1,000,000
Oh,
scrolls.
no.
Yeah. So it's like we would know exactly what was going on right now, but it was all burned. It was all burned. So I really feel like that's where I was, but I had never had a chance to go there. But yeah. So, but I obviously visited all these places because it was like deja vu.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah.
I've never been to Egypt.
Uh,
Never.
Awesome. I mean, really, I could do a whole show on Egypt, but all right. So spiritual places, also nature. I find people like people with spiritual gifts seem to be drawn to nature,
Mhm.
which makes sense because when you get out in nature, you're naturally calm. Like you rarely see animals going crazy unless they're threatened by man. You'll see
Yeah.
a little squirrel out there eating his nut for or those I love to watch those white egrets. I don't know if you've ever seen them fish. They will stand in a pond or whatever, with the long necks,
Yeah, the egrets, right.
or ibis. I think in Egypt
Ibis.
it was a
Yeah.
big thing in Egypt. So if you watch them, they'll sit there for hours. They'll sit there for hours, and they grab a fish, and then they just stand there. So for me, that is a symbol of patience. Okay, because
Okay.
they just sit there forever. So yeah, and just being drawn to yoga or sound healing or labyrinth or crystals, all of that, like it shows that you have some kind of interest in something other than the six senses. So and then
I
I
get ocean. Like I'm so
yes.
drawn to the
Oh, me too.
ocean. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And that makes sense too. And then the thing
Yeah.
I didn't add on here, which I should have, I'm sorry, Mary the pet psychic, but I should have put animals.
Animals. Yeah.
Animals should have been on this list, and it was
Right. Yeah.
animals. So almost all of these things, like people are drawn to that.
Yeah.
So, and then physical and emotional sensitivity, sensitive to vibes from sounds, lights, crowds. We talked about this. And
Mhm.
did you ever meet somebody where you meet them and they say hello, and maybe you talk to them for 2 minutes and you're like, I hate you,
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
I don't know, not I hate you, but like there's something like I can't, there's a problem here. And the reason for that is that somebody is talking up here, but they're vibrating down here. So we as
Right.
psychics or intuitives, we're noticing that gap there. So and we're just
Yeah.
saying something's wrong. We don't know what's wrong, but there's a gap.
I never figured that part. Like their vibration is so low, but they're talking.
Yeah.
That never occurred to me. I just knew that I didn't like their energy and I had to like, whoo, run away from them, you know?
Because it's like there's something wrong. We don't know what's wrong, but there's something wrong. So
Wow. That
yeah,
explains it. Okay. Yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
Now again, some people have a problem with they're so empathic. They have a problem with crowds. Like they don't want to go to the mall. They can't get into an elevator. Okay, so you want to hear something weird? I
What?
I like that. I don't know. I don't mind that because I find it all so interesting. I don't know. It's like I just find it interesting.
Well,
So
see, I can do New York. Okay, I can do big cities, but put me in a mall with tons of other people. I
well, I
can't
guess it
do it.
depends. I guess it depends. And it depends on who the people are. If you're in a big group of like-minded people, that's good. But
Yeah.
I would rather be in a group of people than sitting home on my chair.
Right.
But I am a
Like I
Gemini, and
was
so are
today.
you. We're two
Yeah.
Gemini.
Yeah, I was a blob today. I
Well,
was a counter blob.
sometimes we just need to be a blob. Um, okay, so sensitive crowds or certain people or even places, deja vu. Like you go in there and you're like, oh no, like I got to get out of here. So yeah, I have a couple stories about that, but I'm not gonna. We'll save that for another time. And then the other one is feeling physically sick in certain situations. So I don't know if I call this "give it the puke test." Okay, puke test. I love it. So like you might be in a situation or in a place or whatever, and you're just like, I feel like I'm going to go in. I need to go in the bathroom and throw up. I feel I feel physically nauseous, and that is you know, something that can happen. And I use this when I have to make decisions about things. So, you know, should I do this or should I do that? I give it the puke test. I'm like, okay, I think about doing option 1. Okay, fine. I think about doing option 2. Oh no, I want to throw up. I really feel like I want to go and throw up. So
I gotta remember this. Yeah.
The puke test. Remember the puke. Give it the puke test. All right. So yeah, so feeling physically sick in certain situations. All right. All right, so let's go to the next one. Let's go to 4 here. Okay. All right. All right. So, okay. So now we say, okay, we checked all these boxes now. Okay. Like, yes, I do this, I do that. It's like, okay. All right. So that's cool. Now what? What do I do? Right. So where I think a good place to start is to try to figure out like where your strengths are. Okay. So I say determine your strongest Claire. So Claire means clear. Okay. So number 1, which mostly everybody's heard of, clairvoyance, clear seeing. Mary, obviously, and we're going to talk about this. Mary has every single one of these. Okay. But not everybody does. One maybe have 1 or 2 or one your strongest. But clairvoyance, messages received through images, pictures, and colors through your inner eye or your third eye. Okay. Now then we have remote viewing. Okay. Which is your specialty. So it took me, I don't think remote viewing necessarily is my strongest Claire. I could do it. But the thing is, that is your strongest Claire. But it took me a long time to realize that sometimes spirit will show you pictures of things that mean something to you. Right. So it doesn't have to be, I'm looking at the exact house that you grew up in. I might say, well, or I'm thinking to myself, they're showing me this brownstone with the stoop, where my aunt used to live, and there's plants on so they'll show me that, and then I'll say, I'm being shown a play, and I'll explain to them, and they're like, oh my God, that's my house. But I don't believe I was actually seeing their house. I was seeing my aunt's house. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh.
And this happened to me before too, I'm seeing a pond. Now I'm seeing my pond. I'm seeing a pond, and there's a tree, and there's a fence, and then there's a street running next to it, and there's birds and ducks, and they'll be like, oh my God, that you got it. So, but I wasn't seeing their house. I was seeing, the spirit was showing me my house.
Well, see, I'm different. Like I literally go to the place.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying is there could be there are 2 different ways that manifest. And so don't feel bad if you're not seeing, because it took me, if I'm not seeing the exact place and I see the address is 532, like, don't feel bad if you don't see that. You may be seeing, they're showing you a picture that you would recognize.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
Gotcha. So 2 different things there. Can I do remote viewing? Absolutely. But it's just, it's not my strong, it's not my strong Claire. Okay. So here's mine, clairsentient. You feel the answers or emotions of others, and you know stuff by just getting a feeling. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you can sort of tell what kind of person or what kind of Claire you have, or just listen to what people talk. So if somebody says, you say something to them and they say, oh no, I don't see that. I just don't see that. I don't see that. Okay. Those people, you're talking about seeing, right?
Yeah.
So, and then somebody else may say, Oh no, I'm not feeling that today. I'm not feeling that's a good decision for me. Okay. Like those people are like feelers
Right.
or you know, so anyway, so clairsentient and apparently being clairsentient is one of the harder things to do. And I
Wow.
guess, well, and to develop, and I guess the reason
Hmm.
for that is you have to learn how to separate your right brain from your left brain. In other words, what is coming from, like from me, maybe out of fear, as
Hmm.
opposed to what is coming from a message from spirit. And so I say, if you're getting any kind of feelings, you have to look back and say, why am I feeling that? If you're feeling that having anything to do with fear, like, I don't think I should take that job because what if I lose it? Okay. Yeah, no, that's fear. So no, that doesn't
Yeah,
count.
that
Doesn't
doesn't count. Right.
So I think the difficulty in clairsentience is being able to make that distinction
Okay.
between is it coming from my head or is it coming from, from something else? And also, again, if you feel other people's emotions, you have to find a way to turn it off.
Right.
Otherwise, you'll
Right.
drive yourself
Yeah.
crazy.
Just like,
Yeah. And then clairaudience, I have this, you have this, a lot
yeah.
of people.
Oh
Uh,
gosh.
clear hearing, you're able to hear names, dates, songs, uh, like you hear it in your head. And I do hear this a lot,
Now,
you do
hear it
hear it.
inside your head, Barbara, or outside both? Or
Well, I can do it's mostly inside, but I
okay.
have heard it outside, and people have
Oh
probably
yeah.
experienced this. You hear somebody calling your name and turn around like, well, like
Well,
there's nobody there.
right.
You
Yeah,
know?
I hear it all the time. Yeah.
Right. So that's not all that common, actually. You may think it
Okay.
is, but it's
Oh.
not all that common. Most times it happens inside your head. And of course, I have lots of conversations inside my head all the time. And
Me too.
again, you have to be able to distinguish what's coming from me and what's coming from the outside.
Well, I mean, I can literally hear them talk. And they talk, the spirit talks really, really low, and
But
then
is
I
it
can
inside
also
or inside or outside
outside,
your head?
outside,
Oh,
outside.
that's cool. Outside.
Yeah.
Outside, yeah,
Which,
that's
so, and then I can get them on my iPhone on my video,
I
and
know.
and you can hear them talking, and
That's
it's
awesome.
real low, so sometimes I have to use headphones just to make out what they're saying, because hey, my hearing's not as great as it used to be. But
Mhm. Well,
wow.
that is actually a little bit unusual. And then sometimes, they have these spirit boxes. You've heard about these spirit boxes.
Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
not sure.
Well, I have a spirit box story. Okay. So I
Okay.
had a group of like 5 friends. We called ourselves the Coven, even though we're not really witches. We just called ourselves that. So we would meet like once a month or whatever. And so one day, the one girl said, I'm going to bring my spirit box, like where, it's static and then people talk. And we're like, yeah, why not? Like, why
Uh-huh.
not? Bring your spirit box. So we bring the spirit box. And at that time, and I don't remember, in New York, there was a young boy who was missing. He was autistic and he got out of
Oh.
school and they weren't watching him. He got out of school, he disappeared. Okay. And nobody knew where he was. They couldn't find him. So we're like, let's ask the spirit box, So we turn the spirit box on and they're like, it's you're hearing static or whatever. And then we're all listening and we're saying it, tell us where this boy is. And we heard it. It said in the river. It said in the river. And we were like, and they were all looked at each other like, did you hear that? Like, yeah, it just said in
Yeah.
the river. Okay, well, come to find out, a couple of, like a week later, they found the boy in the river. He had
Oh,
wandered away and he had drowned in the river. So
poor
now
baby.
we called each other up. And we're like, did you
Yeah, I
hear
know.
that?
Yeah.
So
Well, the same thing with the Becky Beard case that I'm on
mhm,
is that I walked into this metaphysical shop, and my friend, who is sister of Becky Beard, Carol, and I were in the shop together, and they
mhm,
were using a spirit box for her case.
Mhm.
And the spirit box came up with some interesting things that actually pertain to the case. So, I was kind of like, well, maybe there is something more to this. So,
I,
yeah,
you know what? I don't know. I only know facts.
yeah,
Okay.
right.
And the fact
Yeah,
is that we all heard it, and
yeah,
it turned out to be true. Now,
yeah.
again, back to what I was saying before, where future events, you have insights into future events. So let's say you hear about this case and you say to yourself, man, I'm feeling he's in the river. I just know I have this insight he's in the river.
Yeah.
Again, that could be, that's one of the things that we're talking about. So, uh,
Yeah.
okay. So hearing inside or outside your head. If you're hearing it outside your head, that's pretty strong. So
Okay.
you actually check all of these boxes at
Yeah.
100% there, pretty much.
Yeah, and you told me something else tonight. I never knew the word for it because I just I've never looked up the meaning for it, but psychometry.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to talk about psychometry in the next one. In the
Oh,
next
okay. All
one,
right, gotcha.
we're going to talk about that.
Okay,
Okay,
Jason.
Jason. Okay.
There we
Uh, okay. So claircognizant. So claircognizant is you just know something without
are.
being told.
Right.
You rely heavily on intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times when I'll just say something and they'll be like, "How'd you know that?" And I'll be like, "I don't know. I don't know. I just know. I don't know. I just know."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's something. Clear smelling, we talked about that. Not one of, I know you have it. Not one of my strong ones, but I can smell it. So, like for instance, my grandmother, when I was a baby, she used to bathe me, and she used this talcum, a certain talcum powder that had a certain smell. I don't even know what it
Mm-hmm.
was or anything, but sometimes when she's around, I can smell. I smell
Can
that
smell
talcum
that.
powder. I smell the
Yeah.
talcum water. Okay. Sometimes when I when I'll read clients and I'll be like, okay, your grandmother's here, and like I'll smell like cookies and cakes and
Uh-huh.
cookies, and I'll be like,
Uh-huh.
whoa. I'm like, whoa, she was a baker. And they'd be like, oh, yes, my grandmother, So,
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So perceiving sense that are not present. Okay. And now we're going to talk about psychometry. Okay. And which, by the way, also I didn't realize this, but psychometry can also include pictures. So,
Yeah.
when you and I look at pictures and we get
Mm-hmm.
energy off the pictures, that
Yeah.
actually is psychometry. Of course, it does have a name, clairtangency, which nobody ever uses, but it's mostly psychometry.
I
So
never knew that. Wow.
yeah, you get insights through touch, physical contact with objects and other people or places. I have a wonderful good friend who's an amazing psychometrist. And she would hold things and she would get all sorts of stuff. But she moved to Florida, and a lot of her clients were in New York. And she's like, "Oh, what am I going to do? I can't, I'm
It's
not going to be able
easy.
to do it." And I said, "Listen, you don't need to hold things. You think
Right.
you need to hold things because that's what you do, but you don't need to
No,
hold things."
no, you don't.
So no, so now she does phone readings, whatever
Mm-hmm.
she's on. And
Right.
so she can still do it, but she doesn't need it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So psychometry, again, holding things. And then Claire Augustin Prince, whatever that is, Claire, whatever. Clear tasting. All right. You're able to experience taste without having consumed anything. So again, I'm reading a person when grandmother comes through and I'll be like, wow, she made an unbelievable lasagna. I mean, I could taste that lasagna, and
See,
like,
that's not my strong. That right there is probably the lowest on the totem pole
all
for me.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, see, that's interesting. So I don't know why, but it doesn't happen all the time, but
Right.
I can taste that lasagna.
Yeah.
So again, and again, see, that's what I'm saying is some of them are the strongest ones. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like if being able to taste is low on the totem pole, you don't really need to work on that, do you?
No. No.
So like clairvoyance was, believe it or not, was not one of my strongest points. It wasn't. Okay. I have a photographic memory, but coming up with things that I've never seen before was a little difficult. So I had to do exercises. And one of the exercises they tell you to do to develop that is pretend you're on a stage and there's an apple on the stage. And then you take the apple, you're looking at the apple, and you turn the apple around. I look at the top of the apple. I look at the bottom of the apple. I look at the sides of the apples, and really, and then maybe another object. And you practice that so that seeing, being able to see. So now, yeah, it's a lot better. But I had to work on that a little bit.
Wow.
Most people, and now some people are so clairvoyant that nothing else can get in there. And I think that's not good either, because then you're being bombarded with all these images all the time.
Right.
So we need to be able to turn that off. And we'll talk about that, in there someplace too. Okay. So where are we next? Let's see, where are we going next one? Okay. All right. So now, before you start any of this, where do we start? Okay. First of all, you have to decide on a discipline. Okay. And what do I mean by that? Psychic versus mediumship. Okay. So remember, if in the psychic realm, psychics perceive, we perceive things through, clairvoyance or whatever we perceive. However, mediumship, they receive from spirit. Okay. You're receiving actually from spirit, from disembodied spirit. So people have to decide, am I comfortable? Am I going to be comfortable speaking to dead people, or would I rather, just do the psychic thing? So you sort of have to decide about that. Now, all mediums are psychics, but not all psychics are mediums. So I think that would be one thing I would say to somebody: decide what you're comfortable with.
Right. But the mediumship, now you've got a spiritual medium or you got a physical medium.
You mean an evidential medium, or?
Yeah, well, evidential, spiritual, or physical. See, some people, yeah.
I know what you're talking about, where the spirit actually enters. And again, I'm losing it right now. Yeah. In other words, where the spirit actually enters your body.
Yeah. And that's, most of those don't live very long. Did you know that?
I believe it. No, I don't want that.
No.
So, and then set up your psychic self-protection ritual. We talked about this a little bit off air. Make up your own little prayer. Mary, I think you have a little prayer that you say sometimes.
Yeah. So what I do is, before I connect with spirit, I mean, and sometimes I do it like you, Barbara. Hey guys, I'm down here. I need your help. And I have said this many times. I need your help.
Because I've said it so many times, they already know. They're like,
yeah, they know, right? And so a lot of times though, I'll be like, hey, divine team, get your ass in, get your butt in here. I have to be careful what I say. I need you right now, please. And so I always call upon my divine team, which is my spirit guides, my angels, my archangels, Jesus, because I believe in that, and God. And then I'll light sage around my area, or some people light candles. Sometimes I don't even do that. Sometimes I'm like, help,
just get with it. But so I think people that are starting out, make your own little make your own little prayer, because you're not where we are right now, where you can just go, okay, do it. So make your own little prayer. Maybe, give me the clarity. Please give me messages with clarity, and make sure that they're for the good of all concerned. Make up your own little prayer.
Right.
Meditation, I think this is real. This is sort of important. So I have a short little meditation. Someone gave me one. It's about 2 minutes, and it's about like deep breathing and clearing your energy, putting it down into the earth, bringing it back up. And I don't use it all the time now, but it's a great thing to like reset your reset yourself, because sometimes we have to do readings, right after you get home from work or something.
Right. Yeah.
So you need to clear that energy out. And then affirmations, again, something like, I am ready and able to receive the messages that you give me. Again,
Correct.
make
Yep.
your own up. And then we talked about setting the stage. Light some fragrant candles. Okay. Now, when I say fragrant, okay, please try to get soy candles. They're pure and
So-
with essential oils. Don't be getting something from whatever that candle place is where they put in all these
Yankee.
chemicals and
Yeah.
stuff. Yankee candles, I'm sorry, but
Mhm.
unless maybe Yankee Candles puts in essential oils now, but try to make it natural, your candles. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Cleanse your area by saging. Again, that's we could spend a little time on how to sage, but again, you could
Right.
see the pictures. Those are little sage things going on there.
Right.
And so you just burn it and just go around the corners and just sage. You can also, which I really love, this Palo Santo, like
Oh yeah, love it. Love it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I love. I lit it tonight. So Palo
Yeah.
Santo, you can light that and burn that. So that's good. And then spread crystals. All right. So I'm
Right.
going to talk a little bit about. I'm just put a couple of them here, and again, I'm not a crystal expert, but these are some of the crystals that can help you. All right, help you set the stage. So we have black tourmaline. It's known as the ultimate protector. It shields against negative energy and creates a protective barrier. So that's a good one to have for this, but also it's a good one to take with you if you go to psychic fairs and that kind of stuff. I always have
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
And then amethyst, that's the purple ones we're seeing up there. Amethyst is good for almost everything. If somebody said to me, okay, I want to start a collection, what should I buy first? I'm going to say, get yourself an amethyst. Okay. Because it's
Right.
sort of, it's positive. It's grounding. It's happy. It's good.
I heard that if you rubbed it on your third eye, you could open up your third eye that way.
That could be possible. And maybe that's part of a ritual. Maybe that's a ritual that somebody wants to pick up. Maybe you pick up that amethyst and rub it on your third eye. Amethyst offers spiritual protection and can help calm and ground the energy field, which is really important because if you're going to do readings, you have to be grounded.
Right.
What else? Hematite. That's provides grounding and stability, helps feel protected. All right. So hematite is a black, sort of like a black shiny stone.
Yeah.
Selenite, which I think that's selenite. It could be milky quartz,
Okay.
but it might be
Okay.
selenite. It's white like that. And selenate's a powerful cleanser, helps to purify the energy and remove blockages. Okay, so that's cool.
Ooh. Okay.
Labradorite. I love labradorite.
Me too.
Yeah, man, it's like it exhibits flash of color, blue, green, yellow. It's really wonderful. I have a labradorite heart, which I love. Again, it shields against psychic attacks. Okay, so you have
Ooh.
Labrador. Maybe
I
you need
do.
to put that Labradorite under your pillow. Okay,
Yep.
you need to
Yep.
sleep with it under your pillow because it shields against psychic attacks and acts as a protective armor. And then smoky quartz helps to detoxify the energy field, and fluoride stabilizes energy and promotes clarity and focus. So those are a few. Again, if you are worried about psychic attacks or whatever, maybe go get some of those, and like have those sort of sprinkled around, and you could put them on a grid, a crystal grid, or you could just put them, right by what you're doing there. So, okay, so that's that. Okay, let's go to the next one.
One
Well-
moment, please. We're going to have a word from our sponsor.
Oh, I can't wait.
Have you been around negative people or in a negative environment? Frankie and Lord's Apothecary Cleanser Spray is a must. Just one spray to make the negativity go away. Available at marythemedium.com.
Okay, can I just I would like to get a testimonial here. It's really, you guys, it's really worked. So you were spraying it all over Spirit Fest.
Oh yeah, I was.
We were practically drowning ourselves in that, and it did seem to work.
It
So,
did.
Oh, okay. So now, and again, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned this in the beginning, but we're going to do like a little experiment now. Okay. So people on the, I'll give you a few seconds or a little bit of time on the other end there. If you could just get yourself a piece of paper, and just number it from 1 to 10. Okay. Mary, you could do this.
Yeah,
Even
I
though
could find a pen.
saw it, but I think you saw the answers, but I don't think you probably remember them. So,
Oh no, I didn't see the answers.
okay, because it's on the next slide here. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold up a card, and you're going to, just write down what you think it is. Is it a circle? Is it a square? Is it a triangle? Is it a plus sign, or is it a star? Okay. All right. So here's the first one. I'm not showing it to you. All right, but I am going to think about it, and I am going to throw it out there to you. All right, throw it out to everybody that's out there. So think about the shape, if you're trying to figure out what it is, think about the shape of what you're seeing. Spend a few minutes, not a few minutes. We don't have a few minutes, but all right. All right. So that was number 1. Okay, here's number 2. All right, number 2. I'm holding it up and I'm talking to you. Okay.
I'm going to flunk.
Hey, you never know. You don't know. Why would you say that? You have a 1 in 5 chance of being right. Okay. So, here's the next one, number 3. All right. Okay. Take a deep breath. Mary, you should be able to use your clairvoyance and just look at the back of the card. Okay. All right. Here's number 4. All right. Number 4. Actually, I'm going to turn.
Okay. What are the shapes? What are the shapes?
Right on the top of the slide.
Oh.
See, it says circle, square, triangle. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So what number was this? This was number 1.
5. Number 5.
No, this was 4, Mary.
Yeah,
this
that was 4.
4. All right. Now we're going to do 5. Okay. Here's 5. Here's 5. Now, remember, some of these might repeat, so, don't think, well, I got to use them all because no. Okay. So, all right. I'm sending it out to you. Okay. All right. 6.
Is that a red cross sign?
I'm not answering your question yet, Mary. I'm not answering your question, but you did get the colors right. Okay. All right. So, all right. Here's what number now? I'm losing track here. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Number 6. Number 6. All right. Okay. All right. 6.
Oh, I'm drawing it. I'm not writing
You can draw it. You can draw it. Fine.
Duh.
Good, because they should be. You're clairvoyant. You should be seeing the images.
Yeah.
All right. So here's. I'm like, okay. So this is 7. You're making me laugh here. 7. Okay. Okay. I'm also sending out I'm going to send out but images that might, I'm sending pictures of images that this would fit. Okay. All right. So that's.
I had taquitos for dinner.
Number 8.
Oil.
Number 8. Okay, I'm number 8. So I'm sending you the picture, and I'm sending out to everybody like an object, that would be like this. Okay. All right, that's 8. One more. All right, one more. This is number 9. Okay, number 9.
I didn't get any of them.
How do you know?
I know.
Don't say that.
That's
I don't say anything. We're going to wait till the end. The next slide tells you the answers. Okay, so, all right. You got it? All right, that one. And last one. Okay. Okay. And here's the other thing, Mary. You got to do it like this. Don't be because you already said, I'm not getting them. So, I should have said that in the beginning. Don't change your mind. Don't say, well, I thought
just tried.
Okay, right, that's it. Okay, so now, there's a couple things that I wanted you to understand is, how did you receive this information? People out there, how did you receive it? Did you see it? Did you hear it? Did you smell it? Did you know what I mean? Because this will help.
I heard it.
Okay, so
I heard it, and then because trying to see through the card is difficult for me,
mhm,
probably because it's 10:25 at night.
that could
But
be.
it's like I heard, but
Okay. All right. Well, that's okay. So for people out there, if you heard, then your Claire may be, you know, like clear hearing. If you saw it,
Yeah.
it could be, so and then also I asked people to say make a note of how much you believe in psychic phenomenon from 1 to 10, 1 being, I don't know, and 10 being, yeah, man, I believe in this stuff. And the reason why I'm doing this is I have done this at some of my workshops, and I have to be honest with you. Some people get a lot of them,
Yeah.
and they're a 1. They're like, I don't believe in any of this. And then all of a sudden, they get half of them right. And now people are like, wait a second, maybe I need to rethink this. Okay. So also remember, if you're a 1, that could also affect what's
Mhm.
going on there. So
Yeah, and that got me. Renee said she felt it. I felt it, and I felt
mhm,
like I heard it.
mhm. Well, you might have heard it and felt it. And okay.
So
So now,
Jason, what did you get?
all right. Well, wait a second. We're going to go to the answers. And Jason
Okay.
can talk. Let's get the answers to see how we did. Oh, Jason has to give us the answers. Jason,
Okay.
next.
I will. Yeah, I'm getting there.
Okay, next image.
My
All
temperature went down.
right. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So these are the answers. All right.
I
So
got the first one right.
okay. Well, you got 1. Mary, how did you do?
I got a sideways square.
A sideways square. A square is square. How can you have a sideways square?
I got the first and last.
All right. So you got 2, right? You got 2 of them.
I
I
got
got
2.
number 2 right.
Okay.
I got number 8 right.
Okay. Did you get 1 more?
I got number 9 right.
Oh,
And so I got 3 right.
you just held up 4. You know that, right?
3.
Okay, great. Okay. All right. So the thing is, we already talked about how you got that, and I would have to assume that you got a 10 on whether you believe in this stuff. I would have to figure it out. Hopefully you really believe in this stuff. Okay. All right. So let's go. All right. So if I'm not in 25, usually I do this with 25. Okay. But we don't have time for that. And sometimes the researchers do it for 100. Okay. If you got 2, if you got 2 of them right, you might be psychic, or you might, or it could be coincidence, because they say 20% is coincidence. However, if you get more than 2, which you did, Mary, you got more than 2 right, then that's more than coincidence. So you definitely have some psychic abilities. Okay. All right. If you didn't get any, okay, don't worry about it. Okay. Because number 1, this might not be your strongest Claire. And number 2, you just might not be relaxed enough to do this. And number 3, you might be worried about being wrong.
Right. Yeah. Which I was.
I don't want to be wrong. So don't worry about it. It's just what I'm saying here is the important part for me is noticing how you arrived at the answers. What Claire were you using? Because that is probably your strongest Claire. So work with that first before you work with the other ones. Okay.
That makes perfect sense.
Okay. And did your belief or disbelief make a difference? Okay. A lot of times it's just amazing. Like I said, these people are like, I don't believe in this, and they get 6 right. I'm like, well, you may not believe in it, but something's going on here.
Right.
So, all right. So let's
really
go.
cool.
It's cool, right? It's sort of fun.
Who in the audience got
more than 2?
2?
2 or more.
2 or more. Who in the audience got more than 2? Marianne says hello.
Carrie got 5. Erica got 4.
Wow.
Christina got 4.
Wow. We got some
Wow.
people
Carrie,
going on here.
excellent. Wow. Erica,
Okay.
fantastic.
Fabulous. All right. Well, good. That's a good thing. Now, again, how did you get that? That's important. How did you get
Yeah.
that? Hearing, seeing, feeling, smelling. I don't know how you could smell these, but you never know. Mary, you did get the color right. You said red. It's sort of red. They're purple. So you
Yeah,
got
it's
the color
purple.
right. Okay.
Yeah, saw
All right.
that.
So let's go to the next one. We're getting to the end here. All right. So now where do I go? Where do I go from here? Okay. So first thing is keep a journal. And this is really important. They tell you this whenever you're learning tarot cards or any kind of even mediumship or whatever.
Yes.
Keep a journal. And it's really interesting, especially if you keep it for a while, when you go back and you're like, wow, you can see how, I'm seeing more symbols. I'm seeing more stuff. So the journal is important. Practice meditation. I want to talk a little bit about meditation because certain people, including myself, have trouble in total meditation. You always think about the people who are going like this. And, I'm like, that's not, my brain is going too much to be able, too fast to do that. So
yeah, mine too.
So I use guided meditations. Guided meditations are cool. There's a whole bunch of them on YouTube. I think there's a whole series by the Quiet Guys. I think it's called the Quiet Guys. I don't know, but they've got a lot of good ones. Okay.
Okay.
Practice mindfulness. Okay. So what is mindfulness? Okay. So mindfulness is just sort of being in the present moment. All right. Being in the present moment, not worrying about what happened in the past, not worrying that what's going to happen in the future, but being in the present moment. And if let the thoughts come into your head. If you you don't try to suppress them, and don't judge them as they come through. Just let them flow. Now, sometimes a good time to do mindfulness is, let's say, cleaning the kitchen. All right. I have a person who, that's how she meditates. When she cleans the kitchen, she is focused on only cleaning the kitchen. She's wiping with the sponge. You know what I mean? Don't try to just be in the present moment. So that's mindfulness. And then again, enjoy some time out in nature or your happy place. So I happen to love sunsets and sunflowers. So there's a picture of it was an extremely happy place that day. Okay.
Wow.
Now there are going to be people out there who can't get to see sunflowers and sunsets and maybe can't even go outside. Maybe you live in Buffalo and it's snowing. You just find a happy place. Maybe it's in the shower. Maybe it's in the shower or the bathtub, or, go under the covers and put the covers over your head. But you find a place that makes you happy. Okay. It's a lot easier for us now because it's, summer. Things are warm. We can get to different places. Test your intuition by engaging in things like who's calling. Like the phone rings, like, okay, who is that? Okay, spam. You know what I'm saying? And don't look at caller ID because that's cheating. But or projecting small outcomes. Okay, so I like to. I predicted all of the royal babies. I'm like, all right, I'm seeing blue. I'm seeing, so sort of
I saw
fun.
Kate's cancer, but 4 years before it happened.
Wow. Yikes. Yeah. Okay. Well, don't do that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it.
No, I know, but we what I'm saying, these are like new people, so let's not.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Let's not focus on seeing cancer. Let's try to predict small positive outcomes. Like, I know I'm going to get a parking space today. I know I'm going to get a parking space right in front. Okay, so we're going to do that. And then I love this one: ask spirit for answers when listening to the radio and see what comes on. So you might be on the, like you might be driving in the car and you're like, I don't know what should I do? I'm, I don't know, whatever, and then a song comes on the radio, like I can see clearly now the rain is gone. It's like the message is in the song. All right.
Right.
I do have I have situations that, have happened to me, and, I've lost loved ones, and there have been times when I'll be like, I'm so mad at you. You left me. I'm yelling in the car, you left me. And I have to worry about the car today, and it doesn't work. And you would be taking care of this. Right. And then next thing you know, I look, the radio, here comes my wedding song on the radio. And I look down and it's 11:11. All right. You can't make this stuff up.
Right. No, you can't.
License plates, like, like you're driving along, you're like, oh, I feel so, I'm depressed. And it says, 800 love or something.
Yeah.
License plates. All right. So last thing I want to talk about, which is really cool, and I could probably spend a lot of time on this, but and it looks like we're getting to the end here. Automatic writing. Okay. So 2 different kinds of automatic writing. You can do like automatic writing, which is like channeling. Okay. Where you just pick up a pen and you tell the universe, listen, just tell me what you want to tell me, what I should know. And then just like sit back and just write, or you could ask your angels or your spirit guide, what do I need to know about this? And then just write. So that's the first kind, conventional. Okay. Then if you want to get really crazy, and this is really crazy, there's other automatic writing, which I tried, which is pretty amazing. And someday I'll have to show some of the stuff I wrote. So what you do is you get pieces of 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, like, I don't know how many, I'd say 4, and you tape them together. So now you have this big, long sheet of paper. Okay.
Right.
You put it on a big table. Okay. Put the pen in your hand and turn on the television. All right. Turn on the television and you watch television. All right. So now you say to spirit, okay, like, I got the pen here. Just let me know let me know what's going on. Okay. Now, meanwhile, you're watching television. The point is that you want your right brain to be occupied. So your left brain is left. Okay. So, and I've done this a couple times. First time.
Barbara, Jason said, you mean like Joe Biden's signature?
Yeah, like that. And, like that.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, so I know it's funny. So anyway, when you start out, you're watching TV and you're going, yeah, and then it starts to move, but it's just not, like, it's not it is, it's doodling all over the place, and you're like, well, I don't know what that is all about, but whatever. I'm still watching television. All right.
Right.
So it doodles for a while, and then all of a sudden it starts moving, and you're like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not doing that. It's moving. And the reason why I said I want you to have a big long piece of paper is I don't want you to stop. I don't want you to go to the next line. So you go through and then you're writing. So I was doing this, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know about this. And of course, I really wanted to peek, but you can't peek. There's no peeking. You have to continue to watch. You peek at the end. You have to watch television because you want your mind, your right brain, to be occupied. Anyway, so I'm doing it, and I kept getting this the same thing over, like, after a while, it would be like the same thing. Like I was writing the same word, and I'm like, what is that? And I'm like, but I can't look. So I'm just keep writing. All right. So I'm writing. So finally I got to the end of the paper, and I think somebody called me. I'm like, all right, I have to stop now. Anyway, so I took a look at it, and I kept writing the word funny. And I actually have the piece of paper, so I could show it at some point. And I had been trying to, like, contact my deceased husband. Okay. And I was like, why is he writing funny? And then I was like, oh my God. The man had a terrible handwriting, and he couldn't, he went to Catholic school, so he had trouble spelling cat. All right. So the thing is, he was writing funny because he was saying, it's funny that I should be, or at least I took it this way. It's funny that I should be writing this, that I should be communicating with you through handwriting. All right. And then I looked back, and I have this one too. I looked back at some of the other stuff I wrote, and one of the things that it said was good wife.
Oh, wow.
Or, I mean, in the middle of all the other doodles, there were a lot of other doodles.
Wow.
But yeah, so it said funny, 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 and then it said good wife, and I was like, oh. So yeah, so that's, if you, like I said, if you want to get technical, give that a shot. Give that a shot. But it's important to be, you can't be doing it when the dog's barking and the the kids are running around. It has to be a time when you're in the,
when I do it, Barbara, and I don't do it like that. Like when if I were to see, like if I'm on a case or if I see somebody on TV that's missing, I just start drawing a map.
Well, again, I get it. And that's cool because you're receiving, you're writing what you're receiving. They're
automatic writing. Yeah,
so
I just draw the map.
I guess you could call that automatic drawing, huh?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Automatic drawing. But anyway, that's something very interesting. And again, I have more stories about the automatic.
Love to hear.
Oh yeah, well, we don't
love to hear
them now. We don't have time for them now, but they're pretty amazing. So anyway, those are some of the things that you can do. So let's go to the last one here because I know we're talking. Play around with tools like oracle cards, pendulums, or tarot cards. Now, oracle cards they're just cards that they don't have a specific structure like tarot cards. They don't have to have a certain amount of cards or whatever. Let's see if I have something here. All right, here's one of my favorites, and I'll show you. So oracle cards are really easy for the beginner because you don't have to learn about the structure of tarot or anything like that. I'm pulling a card right now from this is John Holland's Messages from Spirit. Okay, so let's see what Spirit has to say today. All right, let's see what Spirit has to say today. So this is easy for the person who, a person who just wants to. All right, what do we have here today? Oh, listen. And we've been talking about this. Listen, you have to be willing to listen if you want to really understand. Now is the time to be, not is now the time to be offering advice, but to be a compassionate listener, to listen fully and intently means to pay attention, not just to what's being said, but to what lies beneath the words. Okay. So that's sort of cool. So so that's, work with that, pull a card a day, or if you just need some interesting. So that's oracle cards. Pendulums, again, if you want to get into the whole spiritual thing, I think pendulums are one of the easiest things. Okay.
Really? I've never used them.
Okay. Well, pendulums, I find lost objects with pendulums. It's unbelievable.
Really?
Oh God. It's unbelievable. So anyway, with pendulums, there's a little book, and I think it's called The Little Pendulum Book. Okay. You can get it on Amazon and, order if you feel like you want to get into it, get yourself the Little Pendulum Book, go get yourself a pendulum. And again, you have to pick out the pendulum. Don't buy it online. Go to a metaphysical store, go someplace and let because the pendulum will pick you. All right. You get the pendulum and then you have to train the pendulum. It's all in the book. And then you could start using the pendulum. And that's like one of the easiest things for people to develop their intuition. Okay.
Excellent.
And then tarot cards, which we talked about last week, really, they're not, it takes work. Okay. So if you're really into it and you want to spend time and you want to do tarot cards, then pick them up. But please, don't, I beg you, please don't get some tarot cards and then go to YouTube and learn, have somebody say, learn tarot cards in like 30 minutes, because you're not going to, you're not going to bond with those cards. So I only do tarot cards. If you're really drawn to tarot cards, please do it. But, know that it's, takes some work. So, Okay, watch for reoccurring patterns, numbers, and symbols. And we sort of talked about this before. Are you seeing 1111 all the time? What does that mean? Numbers, symbols. What are your I love this one. Like, let's say you have somebody's in spirit, okay? And you say to them, listen, what's your symbol? I need to know what your symbol is. So like if you send me a message, so you ask them what their symbol is, and then you look and see what, like what comes up in the next couple of weeks. Am I seeing coins? A lot of times people in the financial industry will send coins. Sometimes it's feathers. Sometimes it's ladybugs. Sometimes it's
Ladybugs.
I have one woman who her mother loved curtains. This woman sees curtain rods, okay? She walks down the street. There's a curtain rod in the street. There's curtain rods sticking out of the garbage cans. I'm like, I never see curtain rods, okay? But for her, curtain rods.
Wow.
Curtain, okay, but her mother loved curtains. And she even told me that sometimes she would go into her mother's house and she would go in there and there'd be a curtain rod laying in the floor. She'd be like, that curtain rod was not there yesterday. Okay.
Wow.
So figure out, sometimes it's birds, do you have a cardinal that sits on the, sits and looks in on you? So, so find out what and again, I have more stories about that. And that could even be something we could talk about, but and jot them down in your journal, like, okay, I'm seeing this all the time, or I see a lot of license plates, the license plates. I'm seeing all these license plates that say this with messages, jot that down. And then again, this is extremely important. Surround yourself with like-minded people and share the wisdom. So important. Find yourself a power circle, or find yourself a mediumship circle, or go to Spirit Fest and hang out with people. In New York, we have Eyes of Learning. So Eyes of Learning is one of the oldest metaphysical organizations in the country, I think, and they have lectures and stuff. So surround yourself with those people and you share your wisdom, and they share you share wisdom. Okay. Read books, research online resources, or consider a reputable psychic mentor like me or you. Find you somebody who's like reputable. And right now I feel like I really, I'm going to be starting some classes hopefully in the fall, but I just feel like the psychic mentorship is so important because of the internet. So people are reading books and people are going online, but you can't really ask a question. People are studying mediumship, but you can't go back to whoever this is. And I mean, are they going to answer your questions?
No, probably not.
No. So, consider a reputable psychic mentor. And we talked about this before too. There's more involved here. It's like, what if the person is belligerent? I know you had a few of them you were talking about. What if you do if they're belligerent? What do you do if they're crazy? What if you do, and so those are things that, how do you protect yourself? Psychic protection. So those are things I really don't. And you mentioned, Mary, which is true. How do I know this is true? Like, I see this person online and but I don't know them personally. I don't know their background. I don't know anything about them. So,
you don't know if they truly are gifted as they say they are. I mean, do they have a proven track record? That's what you're looking for.
But I don't know. Maybe they do. And I know some people, and believe me, there are some good people online for sure. And there are people who just love them, and that's fine. But I really feel like having somebody that you can ask a question, or you could say, you know what, I understand this, but I don't understand this part. Just like a teacher, like I get math, but I'm not good in English. Okay. So can you help me in English? You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So, that's what I have to say. So, I think that's my last one. I think that's the last slide.
Miss Barbara.
Remember, and this is extremely important. Remember that psychic development takes time, dedication, practice, and the ability to trust your gifts. And I think that's when that's when the light bulb comes on in your head, when you actually believe that you're not making this up. After you do a bunch of readings and you think you're just making it up and you're just like talking and they're like, wow, that's great. And you're like, it is, and then you realize, oh, okay. Yeah. And then after that, you're like, okay, well, I know I'm not making up. Also,
Right.
Resilience. I didn't put this on here, but resilience is really important. If you get no's, no, 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 like don't let that get you down. Sometimes things happen like you're seeing the future and they don't know that. So I've had people say, no, no, no. And then they like contact me the next day and say, whoa, like, whoa, you mentioned Joe and I didn't know a Joe, but I went to the diner and the guy comes over and he's got a little thing on that says Joe, but it probably wasn't Joe. It was probably something a little stranger than that, like Charlie or something. So, yeah.
So how can people book you? How can people contact you for mentoring, for classes?
Okay. Well, they can get to me through my website, thetarotmistress.com. Okay. So if you go to www.thetarotmistress.com, you can contact me. And I am in the process of getting my website updated. Because it doesn't mention astrology, which I'm doing that too. Oh, there's one more comment I want to make really quickly. It has to do with the power of 3. All right, the power of 3. So we know the power of 3 is important. When you get 3 yeses or whatever, it's good. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say we've just gone through all this thing, and it's like, yeah, I have intuition, I have all of this, and I got all that. But like, how do I know if I'm supposed to develop it? Well, astrology, like your natal chart can be looked at. Like, for instance, when I see my natal chart, I'm like, yikes, it's all there. I've got Neptune and Pisces in the 12th house. And it's like, yes, Barbara, you were made this, so that's like number 2. Number 3, palmistry. All right. So I don't know if you could see my palm here, but do you see the big X in the middle? There's an X that goes like
I see an M. Yeah.
Well, the M too, but there's an X and there's an M. Okay. But there's an X in the middle here. They call that, there is a name for that. The magic cross, or there is something.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize it, but when I said, oh my God, I got the power of 3. Let's see you. Can I see?
Can you see?
I can't see. You might have an X. I think you have an X.
I have an X.
Yes, you have an X.
I have an M. And it's crazy, Barbara. Whenever I get around bad energy, a cross appears in the palm of my hand. I am not kidding you. I have got photographs of it.
I believe you. Okay, wait a second. Is Jason trying to show us his palm? I don't know.
Yeah, Jason, where's your palm?
Oh, I think does he have an X? Does he have an X too?
He had an X in the other one. Let me see. Go back. Show me your other palm. Other palm. Show me Emma's feet.
Okay. Well, again, I can't really see from there, but the point is, if you like, that's the power of 3. You've got an X on the palm. Your natal chart says, you've got psychic abilities and you've checked all the boxes at that point. Now, the important thing is in the natal chart, like I was supposed to develop it. You could have it, but maybe you're not supposed to develop it. Does that make sense? Like you could have it, but your destiny is not to develop it. So that, again, that's something that has to be looked at in your natal chart. But anyway, so that's all I want to say. That's enough.
Wonderful. You are absolutely wonderful. You've got some great comments here.
Oh, thank you.
And guys, if you need a psychic mentor, if you want to sign up for her classes in the fall, contact Barbara at thetarotmistress.com. And
maybe
yeah.
Mary will be doing some stuff too, maybe.
I will. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You and I together, honey. I would love that. So
All right. We'll
yeah, for sure. And you can reach me at the real Mary the Medium at gmail.com or marythemedium.com.
So
Yeah.
Mary, is Spirit Fest over now?
No, they're going on. Daytona and then Jacksonville, but I'm up in the Northeast.
Yeah, you're up.
Yeah.
Up there. Up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm up here.
Okay.
I'm near you.
I know you're sitting near me now.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that was cool and it was fun, and I hope people got a lot out of it.
Yeah, seriously.
Yep.
Those people that got 4 and 5 out of this thing, I think they need to.
Yeah.
They need to talk to somebody.
Yeah. I
No,
agree.
thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
And guys, we'll see you next week, Thursday for Mary the Medium Pet Psychic,
Okay.
and then next Sunday. Yeah. So
All
thank
right.
you, Barbara. We'll have you on again.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks.